Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Roast here with Jessica Bunbun. This is our Monsieur Spade Season 1, Episode 5 reaction and review. We have all the answers. No, just kidding. We have some of the answers. It feels like the picture is starting to become more connected. And for everybody out there who thought, oh, there's too many storylines going on this show. Sacre bleu, how are they going to tie everything together? We are getting closer, everyone.
There was a lot revealed in this episode, and I was really glad for that because, we truly don't really have very much left. Like, this is a very short season of a wonderful show. It has been so fun to cover this show. Like, what a beautiful treasure this show is.
Yeah.
And this episode really tied together some of these burning questions like, what is the secret behind this boy? Why does everybody want their hands on him? And I mean, that has been revealed in this episode. Also, this huge reveal that Teresa is probably Sam and Bridget's daughter is just like, I could feel like it was probably obvious that this could be a thing to a lot of people. I mean, we were talking a little bit about this before we came on here where Matt was like, yeah, I thought that might be a thing. I didn't think that was a thing. Like, I just kind of didn't think that was going to be a thing. I mean, I know Bridget lies about a lot of stuff. But at the same time, like, why bother to lie about that and then send Teresa with him to bring back to Philippe, who's like, what's the purpose of that? Unless she was like, man, super long game. We'll have Sam spending all this time and all whatever because Philippe is never going to end up actually taking Teresa. So, he'll spend all this time with her and he'll figure it out himself.
That is
like, come on, just why didn't you just say so?
That is the problem with this. Like that's been the biggest hang up I've had about it the whole time, because I've sort of thought, okay, it would make more sense for this story if there's a really deep emotional attachment between Sam and Teresa. It's something that they could play around with. But yeah, it has been sort of, okay, what would be the motivation here from Bridget? Because Sam Spade's not a terrible person here. He could be a good father figure.
And Philippe is a terrible person. And he also is the person that she like messed over and took all the money and put it under, Teresa's name. So why would you then put her in that kind of like messy, dangerous kind of situation?
Yeah. I really don't understand it, but I think the important thing here is just this notion of, regardless of whether or not Teresa is Sam's daughter, is it just important for Sam to sit back and think that she is, or that she might be? Because then at the very least, he can really fill this role for her that, his parenting so far through Monsieur Spade has basically just been like him going over to the convent and just dropping off some money or just doing whatever. It has been very, very hands off. Sam, you can do more. You can do better. Just saying.
Yeah, but if he doesn't know, like, what's he supposed to do?
Right? I don't know.
It's such a complicated situation that Bridget put together in the first place. Like, just stop lying as much as you do and just kind of like get it out there. I am hoping to get answers in the finale. We may not get answers. Sam may never get answers. Teresa may never get answers, but it would be nice to get some sort of answers of, if this is actually Sam's daughter, why did Bridget decide to go through it this way?
Yeah, that would be really interesting. And it's also going to be really interesting because I felt like they have been resistant to dive too much into Maltese Falcon on this show, other than like some references. And this is full Falcon. Like, you really, like, I don't even know how you tell this story without showing Bridget in some way, unless you find like some sort of letter or something like her. But you guys put yourself in this position, so good luck trying to unravel it.
I like the letter idea.
I think
that if she's really dead, and I mean, you never know with Bridget, maybe she, faked her death or whatever, I don't know, that a letter would be a really cool way to kind of end this whole thing.
Yeah, it would give us a little bit of closure, at least on that. But we, of course, have so much more to talk about here, but just hit that subscribe button now so you don't miss any of the other coverage we have coming. Like, it's already been articulated here, the finale right around the corner. I hope that they deliver a really excellent ending, but also something that makes everybody hoping for a season 2, because we want a season 2.
Okay, talking about Teresa, is Sam the father?
Yeah.
Right away, I want to know what you guys think. Do you think that Sam is the father? Matt? Oh,
yes.
You do? You think Sam is the father? I do too.
I
Yeah.
think it's just this is not any sort of idea that's just founded in fact in my brain. It's just founded in the idea of what's more fun for the story. And to me, it is much more fun for the story if Sam is really her father, because then you're putting yourself in a position that whether it's the finale or
Mhm.
whether it's season two, you're going to really kind of further along this idea of, okay, how can Sam help to further raise, this young woman who may actually be a little bit older than has been previously presented, but somebody who he can still help. And I really don't think it's a coincidence now that this whole notion of, oh, Teresa, she's a little bit like Sam Spade when it comes to how she like digs around and tries to get answers on things.
Yeah, I mean, it would also be kind of cool for both of them, right? I mean, Teresa was, at the convent and she was not really connecting with anybody else and kind of on her own, trying to find family purpose, anything. And then, after losing Gabriella, we had Spade just very lonely, very lost. He's like, this rudderless boat. And so having the two of them and their connection, and as it's grown this season, which has been like this nice, smooth rise together as they've kind of gotten to know each other better, seeing little bits of her mom in there, reminding Sam. Like, it just has been really nice relationship that by the end, having these two people who are kind of lost and lonely come together in that way, I would love that.
Yeah, I think it would be both sweet and wholesome, but also very important for the story, and it gives the two of them a sort of larger driving purpose. And I think Sam's
Yeah.
missed that ever since Gabrielle died. I think he needs that extra sort of something beyond just this case that really he doesn't want anything to do with. And Sam, we get it. We understand. You don't want to be doing this case. You have basically said this in every single episode of why am I here? Why am I stuck doing this? I don't want to do it. I kind of feel like I have to. My heart goes out to you, man, but you
Yep.
just got to figure out a way to solve this now.
Well, I also really like the Teresa character. So if they want to be able to kind of keep her around if there's going to be a season two, then this is the way to make that happen.
Yeah. And clearly, she's somebody who is capable of getting a lot of information. She's also clearly capable of being suspicious enough so that, in one of many reveals that we have in this episode, we'll just start with the George and his mother part of it, where they were in part spying on Teresa because
Yep.
of like the transitive property here of spycraft is that by spying on Teresa, maybe you can get some more answers that eventually lead you to everybody from, Sister Angelique to Sister Angelique's sister Casala to maybe
Mhm.
Philippe to maybe the boys I ate. It's just like, okay, one thing is connected to another. By the way, though, my opinion on George and his mother as spies, I don't care if you're MI5, MI6, you're working for like the Spy Guild of France. I don't care. You guys still kind of suck at this because when Teresa shows up and they just leave,
I
what, what are
know.
they just like, no? Great, guys. Really good job of being intimidating George and George's mother.
Yeah, I mean, they were at least good in the way that they were able to kind of explain the secret of the boy and why everybody wants to get their hands on the boy. So, this is the explanation from them, which is that this boy mathematically can crack codes in seconds, like
Mhm.
seconds. And the church wants him because they think he can mathematically prove that God is real. Everybody else wants him because if he can crack codes in seconds, he can also create codes in seconds. Like, he's extremely valuable to everybody, including George. And his mom was like, yeah, maybe he could crack codes for us. Like, it's just everybody wants their hands on him, which then goes back to, I'm going to take the W on this
All right.
one. I said that I think that the boy was a score for him. And that is what's happening. Philippe knows that this boy is extremely valuable. He may or may not know exactly why he's that valuable, but he knows he's really valuable and he's got people on the line willing to pay.
Yeah, and there's one thing Philippe seems to care about at this point in his life. It is money, and also second place, money. That is really the
Yeah.
thing that matters to him, and he will do whatever he can in order to ensure that that happens. And we see the links that he's gone through in order to get this boy in the first place. And I do like how they have sort of set this up here, where it's not as though Zaid's a person. Like he's
Yes.
not some object that you can just sort
No.
of use in order to crack these codes, but there's all these people who are treating Zaid at this point like an object. Like, he has no free will. He has no opportunity to sort of speak his mind. And I don't know if this is a question that's going to be answered in the finale, but I would be curious about it. And what does Zaid actually want? Like, does Zaid get any sort of say in any of this? Because it's just like, no matter who quote unquote wins in the finale, Zaid may not be a winner. Like, this boy just may end up being stuck somewhere that he doesn't want to be, helping people he doesn't know. And it really is this sort of difficult, sort of nuanced situation. But I also like that while, there are spiritual undertones to who the boy could be, that he could be, the Mahdi, a chosen one
Mhm.
for some people. There's also another practical reason why other people would want him. So it all kind of grounds into how all these different groups feel about him. So it's not just something that is kind of abstract for various people.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is like, what is the happy ending for him? Because even if they can get him away from Philippe, the church was extremely powerful still after him, MI5, MI6, all government, everybody wants him. Where can this kid go to be hidden? Or, is this kid's life just going to be hidden forever? Or, there is no happy ending. They're going to end up at some agency cracking codes for the rest of his life.
All right, now we have another new character being brought into this. And it's funny, I didn't think this show could handle any more new characters, but this one actually matters.
Hmm.
Ghazala is apparently Angelique's sister.
Yes.
And Ghazala has a lot of responsibility in regards to this kid. And you may have taken a win in this video, but you know
Mhm.
who took a big L in this episode? Claude, who is just sort of like,
Oh, I
gets like beat
know.
up by her, told, oh, you can't say anything, Claude. Thank you, Claude, for not listening, by the way, and continuing to sing like a canary after you've been beat up on this. But no, Ghazala is now entering the mix, and she's somebody who is very, very important when it comes to this boy.
She is so important because it's been said that there are no pictures of this boy.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what this boy looks like. This boy was stolen from his wealthy family at a very, very, very young age by his nanny, and it's her. She's
Yeah.
the only person that can actually identify him and be like, yeah, it's him, authenticated.
Yeah, and that means that whoever is going to take the boy, they have to sort of deal with her to some degree as well. So there's like this part of negotiation that is coming up into this situation. And I know that she is around Philippe right now, and like maybe they can make something work. But I also
Their
feel like
relationship is so weird.
it is so weird. This is why, if I'm going to put a tinfoil hat on
Mhm.
here for the finale,
Yep.
I still feel like Gisela may very well just take Philippe out at the end of this, because it's like, she doesn't need him. Like, she's got
No.
the thing that matters the most. Like, he needs her. She doesn't need him. And it's this situation that I don't know if Philippe is really fully understanding. I mean, he's clearly a smart guy, but
Mhm.
I think he's also so dead set on the score that I think he's probably been lucky a few different times in his life. He's also well researched some things. Like, we talked about this in the last episode at the start of episode 4 when we had that flashback, and he and his mother were sort of looking up on everything. Like, there was an element of chance that went into him getting that information now. I just feel like Philippe is going to slip up here at some point if there is a season 2. I don't think Philippe is going to be like surfacing in season 2 being like, I'm still alive, I'm going to go and steal something else now. I just don't think it's going to happen.
There was a little bit of foreshadowing on what you're talking about the idea that Philippe may end up getting taken out by her, because he said at one point, I find you really fascinating because you know that I can take you out at any point, and that's probably going to happen. She just kind of had this look on her face that was kind of like a smile to be like, or I could do that to you.
Yeah.
And I will.
Yeah. It's a very precarious situation.
Yeah, it feels like while Philippe knows that there's a score to be had, she also knows that. She's also part of it. So if he's the person who can bring in the buyers, the highest bidder sort of thing, then why wouldn't she, instead of like having to share the money, just take out Philippe?
All right, now, unfortunately, we must talk about another L, and this one's an even bigger L, unfortunately, than Claude, and that is Jean-Pierre, who
Oh,
meets a demise at the end of this episode. I'm sorry, Jean-Pierre, you do not get to be around to the finale. You do not get to stick around and try to get money out of Sam Spade because you think that Gabrielle owes you, whatever it is.
this character is so tragic, and
Yeah.
they just did, oh my goodness, such a wonderful job within 2 episodes of making me care so deeply about this character. The
Yeah.
last episode, I just got so invested in him and got to know him so well. They gave me so much information about him. They made me feel so much sympathy for him. This episode, even more, I'm so invested in him. He's like, man, I really messed up. I'm feeling all this guilt. I should not have
Yeah.
actually handed this kid over to, Philippe. I have to deal with it. He goes over there to deal with it. Oh my God. And he ends up in this confrontation with him where he ends up getting, pushed down the stairs by Philippe, who goes down and just shoots him dead. Like, it was so, that character has taken me on a ride
I know.
emotionally.
One of the fun things about this show is that, we obviously are familiar with Clive Owen. We covered a murder at the end of the world here, in addition to seeing him in a lot of other things. But
You love him.
I love Clive Owen, and I love Clive Owen as
No,
Sam
he's
Spade.
great. Yeah.
I have no idea about most of the other cast members on this show because a lot of them are French actors or, perform mostly in Europe. And the actor who plays Jean-Pierre, I do not know his name, but he was outstanding.
10 out of 10.
Like in
Amazing.
this part, yeah, like next to Clive Owen, he might be my favorite actor on this whole show, and to lose him at this point, yeah, it's really sad. It really stinks because there is so much to unpack there with him and Sam, but also him and Marguerite, and Marguerite's still out there obviously, and she's still gonna try to make her business work, but that's gonna have its own fair share of problems.
And they did a good job of like closing that arc too, that we knew that Jean-Pierre has been struggling since the beginning of the season of something that he did back in the past.
Yeah,
And we would get a little bit more and a little bit more of that story each episode of what it was. And he finally, like, as he's at the bottom of the stairs and he's going to die. He finally like has that revelation of that, guilt that he had been holding on to back then, of what was also pushing him to be like, no, I made a mistake. I should not have brought this kid over to
yeah.
Philippe. Like, I didn't, deal with what I did in the past, but I can do things right now. And, he tried.
Yeah, I think
He tried.
he's somebody who wanted to do the right thing, I think, a lot in his life, and he just
Yeah.
made some decisions. The fact that he was haunted by those decisions shows that he was capable of doing the right thing.
And he tried in the past too.
He did, and it's just he's a very emotional guy who went through a lot of trauma, didn't know how to handle it. It was a very, very different time, but I think everything with Jean-Pierre in this episode was really, really good. And I mean, I love the ensemble. I love the characters. There's one beef that I have with where we are with Monsieur Spade right now.
All right, I've got my beef hat
Okay.
on. Let's go.
All
What's your
right.
beef?
I don't know what size of beef it is at the moment. Some of this is going to depend on the finale.
Okay.
But the whole start of this show, the end of episode 1, it was based on this whole shock of everything that happened to these nuns in the convent.
Mm-hmm.
It basically just feels like it has been explained, okay, this monk did it. He's with
Yep.
this like sect of people. It's like,
Yeah.
that's it?
That's it.
That's not what I wanted. This was such a big dramatic like jaw dropper at the start of the first episode.
Yes.
It just feels like it's, I'm not gonna say small potatoes, like people died, like it was a huge part of the story, but it felt like that was gonna be a big driving force for a lot of this season. And maybe the problem is me, and I just kind of thought that we were going down this big like whodunit direction. It just feels like compared to everything else going on in the show right now, we can almost forget about that. And that was the most like garish and shocking part of the entire show. And it's like, does it really even matter now?
Yeah. I mean, I think it matters. For me, yeah, I went into the show thinking that it was going to be a big whodunit
Yeah.
with what happened to the nuns, but they did reveal that pretty fairly early on. And the story has been like moving and sort of going through these different directions of like, now it's about the boy and what's going on and how's, Jean-Pierre attached to this, or Philippe or anybody else. Like, it still has a connection to that, but it turned into less of who done it and more of like, why are people doing this? And I really like shows that can do that for me, because like we cover a ton
Yeah.
of murder mystery here. We love murder mystery.
Oh, yeah.
Whodunits especially. We are right
Yeah.
down the hole with whodunits. But to have something like this where we're going into it thinking, oh, it's Sam Spade, we've got this like whodunit, who killed these nuns? Oh my goodness. And then to sort of bringing it more into a different direction, like we're going to hit a curve and we're going to go into some other type of mystery. I didn't see that coming, and I'm really thankful for that. It's one of the things that makes a show stand out in a way that no other murder mystery show does.
Yeah, I think the problem is me with that because I created
There's no
expectations.
problem.
They
Listen,
could,
everybody watches shows differently and feels
but
differently going into a show.
it's a really small beef at the end
It's a
of the day
small
because it's
beef.
just like
I'm gonna take my beef hat
okay,
off.
okay, all right, it doesn't qualify anymore.
No, this is so
No,
small.
but I really because I really do love this show, and I think
Yes.
other than the performances, I think the writing is really, really good. Like
Yes.
I think they went into this with a really clear plan as to like the story they wanted to tell,
Yep.
how they were going to structure it. It feels like the finale will give us actual closure. It doesn't seem as though they have left so much open that it's just going to be like jam packed and nothing is going to have any room to breathe.
Henri, we still don't know what is going
I
on
forgot
there.
about that guy.
Listen, man, Teresa got that book. She was like playing up that game to be like, oh, what happened to your little black book? It was brown. Let me take you to town. We'll go get another book for you. Like, she doesn't know what is happening, but she has that book. And that book has got to be connected to a bunch of this stuff. Like, is it possible that he might know one of the buyers as well? Like, that he's working with whoever? Like, there is still something fishy about him. Like, there's still mystery to unravel here.
Okay, this isn't really, I don't know if this is tinfoil material, but here's my idea as to what I would like to see with Henri at this point, because we already have so many people who are after the boy at this point. I don't
Yep.
think you need to add somebody else to that list. Maybe you do, but I think what would be interesting is that something happens to Henri in the finale, whether it's we learn he's tied to some other group or maybe he gets killed or something like that. Henri can be our bridge to a season 2, and then we have a obvious connection from season 1. Like he's obviously got some stuff going
Love
on
that.
and he's creeptastic, but like
Ugh, yeah.
yeah. But I just think it would be a good way to sort of make it that we feel satisfied coming out of this show, and I want that. I don't want there to be a huge cliffhanger because we don't know what the future holds, but give people a morsel, like give people a little something, because Clive Owen has already said he would be happy to come back as long as the producers come back. And, at this point, I agree. I don't want to see different writers taking on this show, but when they've done so well.
No, I mean, I really hope that we get a season 2 of Monsieur Spade. I
Yeah.
mean, this has been such a breath of fresh air in this genre where there is so many murder mysteries and just mystery shows in general.
All right. Well, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything else on Monsieur Spade, including the finale. Click that box right there if you want to watch our most recent review for the show. Also, join our Patreon for exclusive content. We have a link to that in the description. Thank you as well to our patrons for your
Thank you.
support. We'll see you guys here next time.